Well, first of all, Graphically Alex, appreciate you coming on
Yes.
the channel. I'm glad that you were willing to come on the channel, considering your little friend Karlyn Borysanko was apparently way too scared, and so
Oh
she
my
had to
God.
send you as her little minion instead. Did you have a good chance to like chat? Was she able to give you some good pointers and tips and whatnot?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It,
Cool.
yeah, but we changed things. We're doing it a bit earlier, so that's okay. I'm
Yeah.
not scared.
I hope I didn't get in the way of that. I hope you guys were still able to have like the pep talk, and she could kind of coach you on how to talk to me.
We'll see. A little bit.
Okay. Um, yeah, so why don't we just start with what initially like began our little feud, I guess, which was
Okay. Sure.
which was your take on my debate with John Doyle. I'm not saying this is like a passive aggressive diss, not at all, but I genuinely had no idea who you were. I just tuned
No, I'm
into
not famous at all.
Well, yeah, I
So I
mean, I
get
just
it.
tuned into Karlyn Borysanko's stream because I realized it was about me, and then I saw that you were there also, and you guys were kind of both laughing, saying that I got bodied by John Doyle and whatnot. I kind of thought we could start there, and then I know you said you also have some questions for me in regards to like why I left the right, and then I also have questions for you just about like being a gay conservative. I find that to be a little counterproductive. I know you've probably heard that before, but one
At
thing at a
least
time.
500 million times. So
Sure,
I
yeah,
guess it'll be the next one.
I'm sure. Yeah, it'll be the 500 million one time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what's the deal? What did you feel like I could have done better in that debate? Why do you feel like I did so poorly? Give me your
I
general
think,
opinion. Don't hold back, okay? I'm not scared.
okay. No, I know. My honest opinion is I think you were kind of taken off guard, which I get. I mean, it was an ambush, so I do understand that aspect of it. But it was, to me, the biggest thing is someone like John Doyle, who's more like alt right ish, weird. I can't stand him, by the way, but his arguments are not the best.
Hmm.
Most of the time, that kind of stuff that he talks about, it can be dispelled with experience or real life things or, real life examples, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I felt like you lacked a lot of that and you didn't really address his points either. So I do agree with Karlyn. Like, and I get it. Like, he does that thing where he just motor mouths and just goes on and on and on. But you still have to, like, you have to either address what he's saying or just tell him the whole thing is bullshit or,
So I think this is where
you know,
we'll kind of break instantly. Is that I felt that I was very adequately responding to virtually every claim he was making. And I think the big difference here is you're saying that he was kind of coming from a place of experience, and I wasn't really refuting that
no.
with more
No,
experience.
I don't think he was at all. I think he was coming because you guys both do this, study this, study that. It's very Gen Z culture
I mean,
to
he
be
doesn't do
like,
that. He was giving purely feelings virtually the
oh
entire
no, but he's
debate.
done that in other videos that he does.
I know,
Like
but
he'll
when
talk
when
about studies.
when you say that I wasn't really addressing his points, I mean, is there like a specific point that you feel that I just didn't adequately respond to? I mean, his main argument seems to be that diversity doesn't benefit the military, and I was giving example after example after example of multiple different scenarios in which diversity absolutely benefited diversity. Or wait, I
Yeah,
think I got
but
that wrong. Where diversity benefited the
no, I
military.
get what you're saying. And again, it's a little rusty. I haven't watched it in a minute. I mean, I just watched it a couple days ago, but from what I remember, it was more so like the studies you were using were not the best. Like they were not as applicable. And I understand you're saying military combat is only 10% or whatever, right?
Hmm.
But these are kind of just technical things. And again, it's the study this, study that type of
But
argument style, which is
that's not a
boring.
bad argument style.
No, it's not. It's just one that I personally don't like. so,
Okay, I
so
mean
I will have
that's
opinions
fine.
on it.
You're entitled to your own
Right.
personal experience, but I hope you realize that if it's like you personally aren't a fan of that debate style, that
No,
doesn't
well,
mean that
yeah,
I
but
got bent over, made into John Doyle's little bitch, which is what you and Carlin were saying. And I get the humor. I think it's kind of funny.
yeah,
I hope I know
yeah,
that no matter how
definitely.
I come across here, even though I'm trying as hard as possible to be chill because I honestly am rather chill about this subject. I know no matter what people are going to be claiming, Hunter's here to defend his ego. Oh, ha ha ha. But I mean, I'm just curious, like what you felt that I didn't adequately respond to. The studies that I provided were about groups of individuals and the way in which diversity benefited innovation. It doesn't only have to be a study directly from the military. And you and Karlyn both seem to be kind of harping on this idea that, like, well, that was in a bank. That wasn't the military. Like, yeah, I fucking know that. The point isn't the military or a bank. The point is that when you have a group of people that are all focused on a common goal, and there's also diversity there, you bring to the table new ideas, new thought, more innovation, and that benefits the firm or the military. Why do you feel like that's not applicable?
It's not that the thing is that we were always thinking about it more in terms of a combat situation, which is very different than any kind of, work environment. That's a typical work environment. That's how we were looking at it. And it was just kind of like when he brought up the fact that it was a murder mystery study, it was kind of like, ooh.
That was the wrong study, by the way. I didn't even cite a murder mystery study to him. He was talking about previously the moderator who decided to ambush me with John Doyle. He was it was during that conversation that I brought up the murder mystery thing. And I get it. It sounds cheesy on its surface, like, oh, a murder mystery, really? Give me a fucking break. But that actually holds significant weight because, again, what it shows is that groups with more diversity had more innovation and they solved problems and came to conclusions far faster and more accurately. They were able to advance faster than the homogenous groups. This speaks volumes in regards to problem solving and how diversity can contribute to the benefits of problem solving. So, I mean, even if it was like a cheesy murder mystery thing, it doesn't take away from the fact that the point I was making was proven via that study and the other studies that I brought forward during the debate.
Well, and what you told me here, if you would have been able, and I understand it's hard with someone like John Doyle because he's just going to keep going, just attack. That's how he is. So I think in that situation, it's not necessarily a lot of what Karlyn was saying as well, and to a certain extent me as well, is it wasn't just like the words that were being said or whatever, right? Because neither one of us are fans of either one, you know what I'm saying, to be honest. So, and especially, it's just, I don't, like I said, I don't like the study me this, study that, blah, blah, blah. It's just, to me, it's a bunch of bullshit. I'm going to be honest. So when I was watching
that's a you problem. I don't know if you
no,
realize.
I understand, but that is our show. And so that is very much like our opinions. You know what I'm saying?
I know, I get that, but it just seems kind of disingenuous if for you personally, you would rather take an anti-intellectual stance where you kind of are just like, study's bad. And then because you don't like that argumentative style, you're then claiming that I lost the debate. Like, studies are not bullshit. Studies are what substantiate the arguments and the claims.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but in terms of like what is rhetorically effective or what is actually convincing, it's not always just about that.
Did you watch the whole debate, just out of curiosity?
We watched like the 30-minute thing that you had on your channel.
Okay. Yeah, so you watched the whole debate. Then did you see how in the end I was able to bring up direct examples to the questions he was asking?
I did see it, but it was, I think the biggest issue I actually had with your performance is you just kept talking about the rules of the debate. And again,
I wasn't. That's not true. I feel like you're not giving a very accurate summary of what happened. At the beginning, yes, I was, because do you realize that, like, why I would talk about a little bit of the rules of the debate? Not to mention Doyle was the one actually demanding like a formal debate when he had just ambushed me, right? So, I mean, let's be honest, that's kind of a shit criticism off the bat. And furthermore, I want to make it clear that, like, I guess I don't expect you and Karlyn to have known this, but, like, John was literally dodging me. I hope you know that. Like, I reached out to him repeatedly in Instagram DMs. He responded. He said he was open to having a debate. I had him being contacted by Modern Day Debate, which was a neutral platform that was going to host the debate between us. He never wrote back. He wouldn't get back to us. He kept on ghosting me. So it really came across like he was actually dodging a debate with me, and then he was totally fine jumping in there when he thought that I wasn't prepared, even though I was, because I've had those similar debates before, with a more biased moderator. So yeah, of course I'm going to make a couple remarks about the moderator being biased, or the fact that like you just ambushed me and now you're demanding a formal debate style. Like that's not, we're on the internet. This isn't a formal college debate. Like
I
it's
know.
pretty obvious. So I just don't, I don't know. I get that like it's not going to appeal to everybody, and of course you're entitled to your own opinions, but
Right.
it
And
just
that's,
seems kind of like
yeah.
you're more just like, well, personally, I didn't really like the vibe, bruh, and that's like all you're kind of going with for why you claimed that I like did terribly in the debate. Like, I mean, I think that's kind of disingenuous.
I mean, I probably should have rewatched it again. But I think to me, that's the impression I got. This is all I can tell you, right? I'm not going to tell you, I can't, I'm not God or whatever. I'm not going to say, I can't say what really happened or whatever. The impression I got is he walked all over you. You kind of allowed it to happen.
How do you feel
And
that he
I did
walked all over
disagree
me?
with,
Like, I felt that maybe it's just different perspectives, but from my perspective,
mm,
I had control of the conversation. I was moving the conversation in a particular direction. I was constantly reiterating my point and substantiating it with multiple different studies. And then he had, like, why do you think that Europe is more successful than Africa? I mean, like, I don't even know how you're, like, did you watch the same debate that I actually did? Like, I don't know how you're able to watch that and feel like John walked all over me. Was it a good debate? Was it hostile? Maybe was it a close call? Sure, but I mean, come on, man. There's no way
no,
you're
I
being
think it
honest
was,
here.
to me, it was just a trash fire. It was like pretty, the whole thing was kind of stupid, if I'm honest. But I understand, like, I understand from your perspective, you're just reacting to what he's doing, which I get.
He's
But,
making an
and
argument,
he
and I do
was
my best to
being,
respond. I mean, that's like,
yeah, he was acting so annoying. I did not like him at all. Like I said, I have to make that clear. I'm not a fan of his whatsoever. So I think even in my case, I was probably more rooting for you, to be honest, because I really don't like him.
mhm.
So, but I just don't feel like, I felt like I don't know, there were just certain things you could have done differently. And I really should have watched it again. You should have told me you wanted me to talk about it,
Well, I thought that I
but
told
you
you that
didn't.
because that was what
You told
initiated
me
the
like
convo.
20 minutes ago or 30 minutes
I
ago.
thought I'm I thought it was earlier today, but either way, I'm not here to like
I know.
yell
I'm
at
just
you
saying
for a
I
fucking
would have been
hour
more
about
prepared.
why did you say I did bad in a debate? Like obviously, we're going to move on to new topics in a second here. It's just I was
No, to
curious like
me,
what you
yeah.
felt I could
I
have done
think what it
better.
is I think you have to know who is more good faith and who is less. Someone like John Doyle is not in good faith at all. He is there
Mhm.
just to stir up drama, just be a dick and do nothing and just make you look like an asshole or like a bitch, I guess, which
Right.
that was basically what he tried to do and it did succeed, especially obviously with people that disagree with you, which debates in general are meant to, you're supposed to try to convince people that don't already agree with you. And so in that
And
sense,
don't
I
you
feel
think a
like it
good way to
failed.
convince other people would be providing research that supports the claim or the position that I'm taking?
I think it could, yes, for some. But for other people and for a lot of people, honestly, on both sides of the aisle, a lot of it is, performance, showmanship, and how effective, how easy it was to understand what you were saying. This is
Mhm.
just my honest feedback, right? So
No,
there's
it's
like a
fine.
whole
I
other,
want to hear your
yeah,
feedback. It's
there's
totally
a
fine.
whole other portion of people. Of course, there are people that care about studies and, kind of doing their own research and that kind of thing, but you're probably only going to reach about like 30%
But
of people that way.
that's part of the rhetorically effective position because when you have one side who is doing nothing but making kind of like half-assed, almost trolling type arguments, and then you have me rather than engaging or rather than just like I don't know what I like what should I have done? Should I have just started like yelling at him? Should I have just started calling him
Yeah,
names?
honestly. I think you should have just said that's bullshit. Or I even
And I
said
did
certain
say
things.
that. I
I know,
legitimately
but
used
it's
the
like
phrase
not
that
at
is
the right
bullshit.
time.
No, when he said
That's
that
the issue.
women are not as logical as men, I said that is bullshit.
Yeah, you said that's
And
a
then I
lie.
explained
That's a
why it
lie.
was bullshit.
Mhm.
So I feel like had I been doing nothing but yelling, like you and Karlyn then would have been up there saying, ha ha ha, look at Hunter. He's so triggered. He's getting so mad. John is just owning him.
I don't
Hunter's
know.
such an
I don't know if I
emotional
would have said
soy
that.
boy. Like, and again, it's personal preference, I guess, but like
Right.
the fucking better version or the better rhetorical approach is absolutely to try and stand above just the insults and instead try and actually address what semblance of an argument there is and then provide the better narrative. And that's what I strive to do. I strive to not only say, like, John, you're dumb, but also provide the other narrative, which is this is why my position is more supported and rooted in factual information. And I know you said, like, you feel like studies are bullshit, but like the
That's
studies
just
are
me
what
personally.
literally,
That's not everybody. Yeah,
but
I
the studies
understand
are
that.
what substantiate the claim. Like if somebody
Wow.
says diversity is bad for the military, how do you combat that? What is, but if you're not going to use a study, what would be the proper response in your mind?
Oh, if somebody said that to me, I'd say why. And then they'd have to tell me why. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, but what about this or that? It's kind of more Socratic, I guess, is how I would do it.
Sure, but
But
what would you say? Like,
especially with someone like him, because I would just, oh gosh, like I said, he's not ever going to be in good faith at all. Um, I think with him, he has his own. Like, I'm not surprised to hear that he dodged you, right? He didn't want to talk to you. He did this in this weird way to catch you off guard. You know, he did it in a certain way for obvious reasons.
mm-hmm.
And I think you could have made that a clearer point too. I think for me,
But
mostly,
wouldn't that
more
just
than
be
anything,
complaining about the debate again or the debate rules?
it is, but it's not in the same way as debating about the rules. Like, it's like, it would have made him look more like a coward. Does that make any sense? If you would have said, I tried to set up something with you, you dogged me out,
I
now
did
you're
say
doing
that.
this
I said
surprise.
that at the
You
beginning.
didn't say it clear enough, though, and you
Well,
should
I
have
was
said
being
it up
talked
front.
over, and as clear as I
I
possibly
know,
could,
but
I
you gotta
said,
talk over him.
I
That's
did
my
that.
point.
I did that as much as possible. I said I was
He
trying
is
to have a
really
debate
awful, but his
with.
arguments are really dumb. So it's not like there's nothing
So
there.
if he
Like,
has a
he's a bunch of hot
dumbass,
air.
if he has a dumbass position, how is providing research which further exposes how, like, just completely non-grounded his claims are, how is that a bad thing? How's that bullshit in your mind?
It's not bad. It's just it didn't win the debate. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm trying, but debates are one part the facts and it's one part performance,
Yeah,
right?
the other half being rhetoric. And I mean, that's going to come down to preference. Like, there have been debates I've done where I feel that I lost. There are debates that I've done before where I don't feel like I did very good, like the Tim Pool thing that you brought up on your Twitter. But I mean, there are also debates like the John Doyle one where I honestly thought that I did quite well, especially considering the circumstances. So, I mean, I'm fine moving on to a new topic at this point. It just, to me, comes across a little bit weird to say that, like, studies are bullshit. Like, that is what
Well,
improves.
I know
Wait,
that you have
that's,
an issue with that,
well,
but
yeah, because
that's
that's what
my own
improves the
thing that's
performance.
separate.
That's what improves the performance.
For certain people, yes, but not for everybody. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, yeah, there's
So,
no, and had I gone your method, there would have been another side of people that said, why is Hunter not giving any facts? Why is he not giving any research to back up his opinion?
probably.
And then they would have said I lost the debate that way. So, like, at the end
You
of the
have to
day, I
combine
tend to
it.
debate in ways in which I find to be the most convincing, and I am the most convinced by empirical research, which proves certain positions incorrect. And if you have study after study after study, decades of research demonstrating that diversity benefits innovation, whether it's in private companies or if it's in the military, that is really, really, that speaks volumes in my mind.
Sure. And like I said, I think it's good to have it, of course, but it's also you have to, right? When it comes to people and when it comes to rhetoric, there's mind and heart, right? So there's two sides. There's the logical side and the emotional side. And you failed really bad on the emotional side because it looked like John was dominating the hell out of you. That's what it looked like
I mean, you're
on an
totally welcome to
emotional
have that
level.
opinion, but I just, you seem to have no real way to, like, further explain why you feel like that.
It was a lot of it was
Is it
your
because, like,
reaction
Karlyn
time.
said so?
No. No, it was a lot of it was your reaction times. It was a lot of just nonverbal cues. Like it's hard to, it's a lot of different things. I mean, I'd have to like really sit down and break it down piece by
Well,
piece,
I'll
I
give a
guess, for
quick
you to
shout out to
understand.
your little friend in chat now. Karlyn Borysanko is actually in chat. John absolutely dominated the hell out of him. Karlyn, two things. One, it's very cute that you are too scared to actually talk, but you're fine sending other people in to talk. That's a little cringe. Second of all, why have you been like go back to taking your crazy pills and claiming that Hitler went to heaven? Like, what are you talking about? Karlyn, I'm sorry, the spirit world, I decided that it was going to block you from chat. I'm so sorry.
Oh my God.
The spirit world determined it. It's not me, okay? I take no responsibility. It was the spirits that did it. Um, but yeah, get fucked,
Anyways,
grifter,
I'm just
cuck,
saying, think
Karlyn.
about the emotional impact and that type of thing. And usually the left is very good at that. But maybe because you're newer to it, you're not. So it was not
Okay,
good.
we'll just move on because I don't want to get frustrated with you, especially on this type of a subject,
Right.
because like I said, no matter how I handle
Just
myself in
think
this,
about it. That's
I
all.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking about
You
it,
don't have
but
to forget
you're
it.
making me annoyed with what you're saying, and that's why I'm going to try and
Okay,
just move
that's
off of this
fine.
because no matter what happens, I am going to be seen as the person who is desperately trying to
Sure.
defend my ego, even though like what you're saying, you're just saying things, and it bothers me when people just say things but then don't actually back it up. So let's just move off of that topic. You said you have a question for me in regards to the leaving the right stuff. Do you want to talk about that, and then we can talk about the gay conservative thing?
Yeah, sure. So I just wanted to know, have your views changed since 2020? Obviously, I did research before this, so have your views shifted further left since 2020? Because you do seem different than you were then after you're
I think I'm
not
more
right anymore.
Yeah, I think I'm more confidently left now. So a lot of my positions were the same, but I was still kind of figuring it out, and that's why I was like very hesitant and kind of cringy to call myself a centrist. I now am very content calling myself a sock dem. So technically
What does
speaking,
that mean?
it's a social democrat. So I support usually social democratic policies, but I also support stronger social safety nets. So I'm in favor of boosting up welfare. I'm in favor of a public healthcare option, for example. But I also break away from the more commie lefties who would say that like capitalism is evil, which I think is fucking stupid. I think that capitalism actually is it has a lot of benefits to it. People would say that like we need Medicare for all, which is I used to think that was the same as a public option, but that's actually just a distinct policy from Bernie Sanders, and it's one of the most radical healthcare policies. It would never get elected. So I'm much more liberal in the sense that I'm content operating within the system as best as possible, while I also advocate for stronger social safety nets as well. So I mean, some people would call me like a crazy lefty for that. Other people, especially if they have experience online, would quickly realize that like I am far from the like commie lefties.
So would you consider yourself basically like SJW essentially?
I mean,
That's kind of what it
that's at
is.
this point it's like that's like a derogatory term. Like I do want there
Yeah.
to be a form of social justice, yeah, and social equality. Yeah, of course.
Okay, so
But I
you're
feel
pretty
like a
far.
lot of us want that. But SJW is used oftentimes as a pejorative, and that's why when you say that, what comes to mind for virtually everybody is the crazy blue-haired college feminist screeching about how you just invaded her safe space. Like that's what people think of when they hear SJW. But as far as the actual principle of pushing for social change and more social equality, absolutely I'm in favor for that. And I feel that I have good reasons for having that position
Okay.
as well.
So yeah. Okay. So was there anything else that maybe you were too shy to say at the time that you left the right to, give me more perspective, I guess, on why you left? 'Cause at
Um,
the time, just to refresh, I just watched it. You said basically like it was mostly LGBT issues. You wanted there to be, smaller government. You wanted there to be more freedom. You called yourself more libertarian. So, and this is all in 2020. So obviously that has completely shifted and you've gone totally the opposite
I
direction.
mean, yeah,
But
I would
was
have
there
to double
anything
check
else
because I
that
don't
maybe?
remember saying anything about smaller government or libertarian.
You said
libertarian.
basically that you consider yourself a conservative and you felt in the past that conservative meant having smaller government and
Before,
that kind of
yes, when I
thing.
considered myself
Mhm.
conservative and was more like right wing, I was in a way, I think what I said is looking back, I realized that I was almost more libertarian in the sense that I thought being a conservative was smaller government and everybody should live their lives freely. And it quickly became apparent to me that I don't know if I started to have a different perspective. I think I started to have a different perspective at the same time that like the far right, the Nick Fuentes, Groyper, John Doyle types really started to gain in prominence. Where I quickly realized like, hold up, what it means to be a conservative is now completely different from what I originally thought. Now it seems as if people are saying to be a conservative, it means that you want to conserve tradition, even if it's at the expense of other people's freedom, at the expense of other people's rights. And yeah, that was definitely a big problem for
Okay.
me. Yeah.
And was that, and I'm just asking, was there anything else that you perhaps didn't say at that time?
Um, I mean, I was
You can
pretty
think
open.
of
That
anyone.
video, I'm sorry you watched it, to be honest, because it was very fucking long winded and I didn't
It
edit.
wasn't too bad.
I didn't script it.
I
I
wanted
literally
to
was just
know.
like, all right, I'm gonna sit down at the camera and just talk. um, was there anything I was like too shy to say? No, not really. I mean, I still abide by most of the positions that I gave in that video. I'd have to
Okay.
rewatch it or look over it to see if there's like, is there anything that I'm really different on? But again, I just,
Yeah, you seem like you are, but that's okay. You went further left, which,
but I
people
I
have
didn't. I
journeys.
mean, policy wise, I didn't go any further left really, based on my
Okay, well then
memory.
you didn't talk about like welfare and stuff in that video, or you didn't talk about social spending and stuff like that
Yeah, but
in that
that's
one.
that's not like a policy that like I all of a sudden like changed with. It was pretty noticeable or apparent going forward that I was in favor of stronger social safety nets. I called myself a centrist at the time, so I think the biggest difference was that I called myself a centrist at the time, and now, although I would still technically, on an international sense and on an online sense, be considered a centrist, I'm more confident in calling myself a sock dem instead. But again,
Okay.
like I just to make it clear, like I break from the lefties quite often. I mean, I fucking got in a bunch of
Do
drama.
you?
Yes, I got in a bunch of drama with the lefties for trying to be more nuanced when it came to like the CIA, for example. I'm still called a Nazi all the time from other people because I dare to say that like Kyle Rittenhouse acted in self-defense, and I feel that he was completely justified in what he did, and I was really glad to see that it was ruled that he was innocent and that he was acting in self-defense. Like a lot of lefties disagreed with me there.
Hmm.
I've
I
debated
get you
lefties on
there.
this channel. I've been called a massive transphobe for saying that like trans women probably can't compete in every single sport. Unfortunately, like that's just a fact of the matter because biology matters in sports. And I've had people
Okay.
call me like a transphobe or whatnot. So yes, I do predominantly attack the right wing. I find them to be far more dangerous at the moment. But let it be known that I am not just like an NPC who goes along with, oh, yes, the left
Mhm.
said it, so therefore it's
Okay.
good. That's not the case.
Okay. So to me, I would classify you more as like far left, but not total SJW. Like probably like
But like, what
somewhat.
do you mean
Yes.
far left? Like, sock dem? Like, you
Well,
realize that when you
that's
say far left, that sounds more like what would be considered like a communist nowadays, right?
well, sure, but I don't judge things based on nowadays. I judge it based on like policies and stuff. So if you're advocating for more social spending and these kind of things, that would definitely be further left
That's not,
economically.
it's further left, but it's very standard democratic policies for the most part. Like, I guess I can ask you, do you think that it's super far left? And extent of that, would you be opposed to the idea of a public option for healthcare?
Mm, I haven't thought about that in a while. It's weird, right? For me personally, that's a more nuanced issue. So I don't know the answer. You know what I'm saying? I'm not happy at all with Obamacare at all. I think it was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that there was certain things that, there was something needed for people with pre-existing conditions, right? So
Do
I'm
you,
kind of
I mean, I
like,
think that you're kind of
yeah.
halfway there. It seems, again, I'm not going to put you in the spot and demand you give me a full
This one
thought
I'm
out
a
answer.
little more nuanced
But
on,
like,
yeah.
it sounds generally
A
speaking
little
like
different
you
to
would
me.
more or less be in favor for there to be some kind of public option for healthcare because people shouldn't have to suffer. People shouldn't be able to, or people shouldn't be deprived of medical treatment based on their wealth. I think that you and I would probably both agree with that in principle.
Like I said, I think it's, I don't really know. I'm not satisfied with any current solutions. Does that make any sense? So if
I understand,
something
but like
new was
generally what
brought
I'm
up,
saying, do you like, would you, principally speaking, I'm not saying like, according to this policy, how we would tax people this way, like, principally speaking, do you generally agree with the idea that life saving, or even if it's not life saving, even if it's just medical treatment, should not be withheld from somebody based on their wealth?
mm, I think it's important for me, I guess principally, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different than what would happen. I would say it's definitely not something that's in the Constitution, so it would have to be state based for it to be
It doesn't
legal,
have to be
basically.
fully in the Constitution for it to still be like a federal thing. Like Obamacare was federal.
Yeah, and I did not agree with the decision or the fallout of it. It was really bad.
I,
It
I
was very badly done
I'm just
at the
trying to
time.
ask if you generally, principally would view that as a good idea because it sounds like you kind of do, but you're not really too sure you want
I
to take a
told you
stand.
I'm not sure on this issue. I'm very
But doesn't that
middle of the
so
road.
does
Yeah, or
okay?
I
You're
don't
middle of the
know.
road. Does that make you like kind of leaning towards being an SJW far lefty?
No, not at all.
So why does it make me more far left for being in favor of the same type of thing?
I don't know if it's just how you come across then. So when you say that you're a social democrat, that sounds socialist. It sounds like you want lots of welfare, lots more spending. We already have a lot of welfare in America. So to want even more, it's like, wow, you're really far left. That's my impression.
Yeah,
So
I don't think that that's super far left at all. I mean, what do we know, right?
sure,
Is
but
that
I do.
welfare
Yeah.
benefits people. It literally can lead to people getting out of poverty. That's a fact. It's also generally a good principle, I think, that people should not be denied medical treatment because they don't have the money. Like that's people shouldn't be going bankrupt in this country because they can't or because they needed to get cancer treatment. Like that's fucked up. And so none of this is like socialist at all. You might be confusing it with a democratic socialist, which a democratic socialist is like Bernie Sanders, who is of the opinion that we need to be fighting for socialism, but we need to get there democratically. Basically, vote, 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 work within the system to eventually achieve socialism. I don't want socialism. I don't think socialism is a good idea. It doesn't seem like it's ever actually fucking worked. So that's why, for me, my ideas seem to be
Okay. I
way
see what you're
more
saying.
based in reality. I mean, if you even want to look at like the Scandinavian countries, then you'll see that they have higher rates of happiness, they have higher economic mobility, and that is because they have better social safety nets.
Okay, well, I don't really want to debate this issue, but do you have any other questions?
I mean, do you have any? Because I'm fine. Moving on to the gay conservative thing.
Let me think. 1 second.
Okay.
Just wanted to know. Okay, so was it also the social spending aspect that led you more towards the left then, not just the social issues?
Could you elaborate what you mean by that? Like, what's
So,
social
like,
spending?
you wanted more welfare, you wanted more of the government taking care of people, that kind of thing. So you
I mean, I
wanted
don't
to
want the
go further
government
left.
just taking care of people. That makes it sound like they're not going to do anything except just like roll over and let the government like baby them all day. But the reason I probably didn't talk too much about that in my Why I Left the Right video is because I primarily do focus on social politics. And I was still in a place where I was trying to have a better understanding of economics to try and figure out like the better position to take before I confidently voiced my opinion on that, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
Okay.
I don't think I was like, well, we need more welfare, and this is why I'm moving to the more left side of things. It was more on the social
The
aspects of
social
things.
side.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that's mainly the politics that I primarily focus on. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. I guess I can We can start the Inquisition at any time if you like. So,
I mean, you call yourself on Twitter a gay conservative. Am I correct?
yes.
So why?
Um, because I don't like the left. I don't like leftist policies. I will never forget what they did during COVID. I will never forget how they have treated Trump supporters over the past, I don't know, since he started running in 2015. I'll never forget how left wing people have treated me in my life. I will never forget how many times I've been called the F word by left wing people because I don't agree with them on many issues.
Okay.
I will never forget a lot of different things.
What do you
Um,
feel that the left did when it came to the COVID shit?
oh my God.
When you say
You
you'll
have
just
to
never forget.
ask. It's like hard for me to even like, it's
Well, you
so
said like you'll
crazy.
never forgive them for what they did with the COVID stuff. Like the lefties
The
definitely fucked
lockdown.
up when we had the
The,
Andrew, didn't we have the Andrew
mhm.
Cuomo situation with the nursing homes and lying about statistics and how many people were infected? Like that was pretty fucked up. Is that what you're talking about?
The authoritarianism, the massive violence in this country in 2020, the burning down of so many businesses, the economic terrorism, quite frankly, that was, the shutting down of every small business, destroying millions of lives over this. It was horrible. And we ended up in the exact same position that we would have been in if we hadn't done anything. Then what they did with the vaccines was awful.
What do they do with the
So
vaccines?
they
I'm
have
taking
shown
notes. That's why I'm
their the okay, the mandates, etc. People destroying people's careers, people that were nurses for 30 years. They are told they have to leave. I saw all the protests with their shoes, and it's heartbreaking. And then they create shortages of healthcare because they fire people
well,
because
let's
they didn't want to put something in their body. And then it's the same thing with the food shortages, the inflation that we're currently under as well is horrifically bad for anybody who's poor.
I agree.
It is horrible in Biden's economy. It is horrible. I would never, ever, ever vote for Democrats. Ever.
Okay, well
Hell no.
let's well
Holy shit.
we can go through a couple of these.
Holy
So
fuck.
the general notes that I took, because we're not going to have time to hit on every single thing, but
Of course
you were
not.
mistreated by people on the left. That's fair. You've been called slurs from people on the left, so it's more of a personal
All my
thing in that
life,
aspect,
yes.
right? And then the more policy positions was what you consider the authoritarianism when it came to the shutting down of businesses, the COVID mandates, and the vaccine mandates,
Corporatism of Democrats.
the
That was
nurses getting
so
fired,
vicious.
and then the burning of businesses in 2020 during the BLM shit.
I mean, many other reasons. I also don't agree with, I've never supported abortion, for example. That is not something that I like at all. And the
Sure. I mean,
arguments
I
for abortion are
we're gonna have
horrible
to
these
just pick
days.
a couple though. Like, what are your big ones here? Like, did I write down
Oh,
the main big ones here? Like burning down the businesses with the BLM shit, the vaccine mandates,
well,
kind of in the
I mean,
authoritarianism.
you could just ask me questions. You know what I mean? If you want to know why I'm conservative, these are reasons why. So,
Okay, well, let's just start with the top
mhm.
one then. Being mistreated from people on the left, because I'm sure that's happened before. There are a lot of like really disingenuous cucks on Twitter who call themselves lefties and claim to be all about diversity and whatnot. And then the minute that a black person disagrees with them or a gay person disagrees with them, they just go full fucking like Nazi bigot mode. So I sympathize with that experience you've had. Of course, not necessarily being called slurs because I'm
Right.
not gay
No, I
myself, but
understand what
I
you're saying.
empathize with that overall
You
sentiment.
acknowledge that it happens, which is a
I
good
acknowledge
start.
that it happens, yes.
Sure.
My
Mhm.
problem is though is that it seems as if the being called slurs from people on the left is really negatively impacting you, but yet you're supporting the conservative side of things, which not only do they have pretty disgusting opinions when it comes to gay people, they also push forward literal policies that can negatively impact gay people.
I know, but the leftists too. Like, for example, open borders. You allow people in the country that are very anti-gay, and
No
it
one is
creates more situations like Pulse night
that's
shooting, for example.
no, stop.
Yes,
First of all,
yes, yes,
there's
yes.
no open
Mhm.
borders,
Yes,
okay?
there are. Okay,
Do
we've
you want to
left
look up
reality
wait, do
at
you want
this
to look up
point.
deportation statistics under Biden right now? Do you know that
Um,
Obama
you
deported
want to
more
look
in
up border
do you
crossings under Biden? I mean,
do
this
you
is ridiculous. I'm
yeah,
not going to play these
boarded
games with you.
border
Oh,
apprehensions. Do you know that Obama deported more immigrants than the last 3 fucking
Doesn't
presidents?
matter. Why isn't the wall being built? What was the reason?
Wait, hold on. We're not talking about the wall right now. The Democrats are
I'm
not
not going to
for
go into fantasy land with you.
the
I'm not.
Democrats are not for open borders.
If you cannot acknowledge that the border is wide open, we are living in two different realms right now.
I
It's
guess
kind
I
of
can look
crazy.
it up, but like, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's
the border
crazy.
is not wide open right now. I
Okay.
genuinely don't know if like let's see. What's happening in the U.S.-Mexico border? Migrant encounters at the U.S. border reached their highest level on record 2021. Okay. More than 1 million southwest border encounters in 2021 involved people from countries other than Mexico. Okay. Okay, so there's a couple things though to like talk about here. First of all, the encounters are going up. That doesn't mean that they're in favor of open borders. Second of all, the encounters are primarily going up because of COVID issues. You have people that their economy is not functioning properly, and you're seeing an uptick in immigration, people trying to come here to America, and then they're being stopped from the Democrats. I don't know if you're aware of what happened with Biden and the Haitian immigrants. Did you hear about the problem with the Haitian immigrants who came in and they were under a bridge, and I think they were like demanding to be given treatment or demanded to. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. I think it was last year, right?
Yeah, exactly. Last year there was a large proportion of Haitian migrants that came over here illegally, and you know what Biden did? He didn't like grant them citizenship. He literally worked to expel them from the country in what is now historically a record speed. It is historically a record-setting time that Biden expelled those people. I mean, it was like, bam. Last year, there was the controversy with Biden and trying to keep Title IX going on, which is their ability to get or turn immigrants away due to COVID issues. This is not an open borders party here. Like, you probably do have some nutcases on Twitter, sure, but if we're talking about actual policy positions, Democrats are, one, not in favor of open borders, and two, this idea that like immigrants are coming here who are anti-gay is not actually true. If you look, immigrants tend to become more socially progressive the longer they're here. And yet, if you're worried about immigrants being anti-gay, why then would you vote for the fucking party that is like blatantly loud and proud about being anti-gay?
Anyways, the point is, you'll get it from both sides. I will admit that, but that means it's a lateral move either way. Does that make any sense?
No,
So
it's
it
that from
doesn't make
one
any
side you
difference.
get far worse, and from the other side you don't get as
No,
bad. Every election is
no,
voting.
because
Hold on, wait.
a lot of what the left does not help gay people at all. Like
Do you
a
think the
lot of the
right is doing
optics,
anything to help gay
no.
people?
Um, Probably not. Not at this point, but the left, it's more harmful. Like
What the left
Pride
is
Month, for
doing?
example. Yes.
You think? Okay, wait. If you're comfortable, are you okay telling me what like state you live in?
I live in Alabama.
Okay, so um, like I don't know if you understand that like the GOP is currently running on anti-gay sentiments. I don't know if you heard the news about the Texas GOP shit, where they unironically said that being gay was abnormal, an abnormal lifestyle choice. We have the issue with Clarence Thomas now after abortion. Roe v. Wade was overruled, which, mind you, that was a very shaky ruling to begin with, so I understand why it was overturned. It was not built on very good legal foundation. You now have Clarence Thomas talking about reassessing whether or not gay marriage should be legal in all 50 states. I mean, you realize that this is a direct result of voting Republican, right?
No, the issue is a lot of times what it is and what's happening right now is you're having a lot of this. There is definitely fighting on the right when it comes to this issue. It's like really split. It's probably about 50-50 on the right now, like when it comes to something like gay marriage or whatever. So that's the highest it's been ever on the right. As I'm
Right,
sure
but
you
you realize
know.
there's also a 37 percentage point of right wingers that say it should be discouraged socially. Like, yeah, it was like finally in the year of 2022, we finally have a little more Republicans that support gay marriage than the Republicans that don't. Whoop-de-doo. Meanwhile, what do you see over on the Democrats? It's like almost the entirety of the party is in support of gay marriage, is in support of gay people having equal rights under the law. Like I'm fine talking about Pride Month in a minute, but I don't understand how you can be like the left is in favor of Pride Month, so therefore we should vote for the party that is claiming it's
No,
abnormal to
that's
be
not what I'm
gay
saying.
and
It's
is now
not my
putting
initiative.
radical Supreme Court justices in place that are talking about overturning gay marriage.
The issue was not just gay marriage in general. It's these made up rights. That was something like what Roe did, where it took something, there is no constitutional,
Do you think there's a
you have to
constitution?
make an
I
amendment
agree
for
that the hold on. I
abortion.
agree that the legal foundation for Roe v. Wade was actually incredibly shaky. I've talked about that before, that it was almost inevitable that it would be overturned because it was done essentially using a loophole and disingenuously exploiting the 14th Amendment. I've talked about this, and that's another opinion in
Right.
which I break away from lefties on. But
So
yet,
I
do you,
think
wait.
he
Do
was
you think that it's
arguing
a
that
made
it's
up
the
right for gay
same.
people to get married?
I think he was arguing that, and he is probably the furthest right
What do
of
you
the court
think? Do you
justices.
think that it's a made up right for gay people to have the right to get married?
Mm, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't have as many opinions on it. Like, I want gay
You
marriage,
can't
like,
call
I
yourself a
do.
gay conservative, and then when I ask you about certain conservative policies that you're purportedly supporting, like saying you have no fucking clue. Like,
Well, the thing is that I don't, it might shock you, but I don't just think about the fact that I'm gay every single day of
I
every
know
moment.
I'm not.
I
I don't
think
think you
about my
should.
humanity
I'm
first
remarking over the fact that
and
your literal.
all these other issues that matter to me so much more
Okay, we'll
than
talk
gay.
about those. But your literal fucking username on Twitter is what, the only gay conservative or
No, it's
something. I mean, it's
actual.
the only factual gay conservative.
No, it's actual gay
Oh,
conservative.
actual gay
That's
conservative.
what it
Okay,
is.
so
Yeah.
like you play into this already. This is the first part of the debate that we agreed to, is being gay conservative. Do you think it's a made up right for gay people to get married in all 50 states?
Mm, I mean, I guess so, yeah.
Okay. So do
It's
you know
not that
what
I don't support it, it's that I do, but it's not in the
it
Constitution. No,
is?
I
It
don't think
is.
so.
It is. You cannot come on here and claim that you actually are like, oh, is it in the Constitution? I don't know if that's in the Constitution, and appeal to the Constitution when you don't even know what the fuck the Constitution says. Have you ever read the 14th Amendment of the Constitution?
Yeah, it says you can't discriminate on certain things. And I guess
Yes.
the
It
argument
is
is
the
it's the
rights that
biological
everybody
sex.
is owed in this country to freedom, prosperity, liberty, and privacy. Oh, and property. Those are all things that classify getting married in all 50 states. So it is a constitutional
I
right.
could see what you mean.
So it's not a
I
made up
get
right.
you. I don't know. I
You do
guess
know.
not.
You just don't want to answer. Is it a made up right or not? Like, what do
I
you?
don't.
It's okay to be honest. Like, I'm not. I'm. It's better to just say what you think than like not.
I guess when you say it that way, I can see the point that you're making. And again, like I don't personally have a huge, strong opinion on it either way with this particular issue. So when I tell you I don't know, it's because I'm not thinking about it that often,
And that's fair.
you know?
I also understand
Mhm.
that like I am very privileged in a way to be able to do this for my job. They're not everybody's able to spend all day thinking and researching politics. I get that. But again, why are you then voting for conservatives who it is literally because of conservatives being voted in? I think it was directly because of Trump, right? That Clarence Thomas is now a Supreme Court justice, and he is now talking about reassessing.
Clarence Thomas was not put in by Trump.
You're right, he wasn't.
Clarence
That was a
Thomas
no,
was
no, no.
put in the 90s.
You're right. That you're correct. I totally
Yeah.
got that wrong there. My bad. But either way, you have a
The trans
conservative.
ones are more, they're not really anti-gay, or not as much anyways. The older ones a little bit, you know, like Alito and
The
Thomas,
brand
but
new GOP platform is claiming that being gay is abnormal. Do you think that being gay is abnormal?
I think it's not common, you know. It's most people are straight.
Do you
You know
think
what I
that
mean?
something being abnormal means that it's somehow like a bad thing or should be condemned or it's wrong in any way?
No, no, I don't.
So then, do you find it a little bit uncomfortable that the Texas GOP is claiming that being gay is abnormal and they're using it clearly to in a negative fashion?
Yeah, I do find that uncomfortable
So why are you voting for these people?
because it's not my main issue.
Okay, we'll get to the other issues in a minute here. But it's like, this is one of your fundamental rights. You have a right in this country to get married to whoever you want to, so long as it's legal and consensual. You have a right to not be labeled an abnormal degenerate from other conservatives. You have a right. This is why I said I'm for social equality. I'm not an SJW per se, but I am in favor of you being treated fairly, just like everybody else, even in social settings, not just legal settings. So when you are talking about proudly, loudly being the actual gay conservative, and yet you're voting for the side which is repeatedly threatening one of your fundamental American rights, you have to understand why that seems incredibly contradictory.
I guess I can see, you know, I think about it differently. So with me, it's more so like if that were to go, for example, it would be legal in certain states and it would be illegal in others. You could make arguments, you could try to do more actual change and social change and actually changing hearts and minds rather than just having the Supreme Court impose it on everybody and then
No,
there's a
no, the
huge issue.
Supreme Court should impose it on everybody. It's not about a heart change. Back in the civil rights movement, we didn't have a long, slow, steady process for everybody's hearts to change so they would eventually see black people as human and eventually let them start. No, you fucking impose it. Yes. When we have certain constitutional rights that are endowed to every single individual in this country, you don't wait for anybody else's hearts to be changed. You impose it. And so if you have a Supreme Court ruling,
And that is your opinion,
my
you
opinion is
know.
the correct opinion based on not only
In your
history, no,
opinion.
but not only based on history, but literally based on what maximizes everybody's equal treatment in society.
In your opinion.
I just find it really strange that you said one of the reasons you're not in fit, you don't like the left is because they have personally like been homophobic towards you. And again, I'm not diminishing that whatsoever. That fucking
Well,
sucks. And
yeah, but the thing
those people
is,
should be
they
shat
claim
all
to
over. But
be.
like, you're voting for people that have policies that are 10 times more homophobic, have 10 times more likelihood of actually inflicting tangible harm upon you. I don't understand it. Like this literally what
I
the
just think it's
GOP is talking about,
hyperbolic.
it pales in
What
comparison to the
harm? I live
having
in like
your
a
right to
blood
get
red
married
state.
reassessed.
Okay, I mean, I don't know. You know, I was fine with it being like a civil union. I didn't need it to be called
That's
marriage.
not
I
everybody's as
didn't.
self-fucking hating as you are. There are plenty of
I'm
people.
not. This
You,
is where the left becomes homophobic. Now
I'm not
you're
being
being
homophobic
homophobic.
whatsoever.
Yes, you
I'm pointing
are.
out in literal 4K 1080p HD that you are
How
advocating for
homophobic you are. Yes, you're pointing it
how.
out.
Okay, what am I doing that's homophobic? Please.
Because you're saying I'm self-hating because I disagree with you.
No, it's not
That's a
because no,
homophobic
it's not
thing.
because you disagree with me. It's because
Yes,
you
it
are
is.
no, it's not. It's because you are voting for a side that not only is threatening your rights, also you're saying, "Well, I was okay with the civil union thing." You realize the civil unions didn't grant gay people the same rights as actually getting married, right?
It could have been, it could have reached that point. It didn't
No,
have to be a
that's
religious
it's there's a
connotation.
reason what first of all, marriage is not a religious thing.
No,
So,
but it has a religious
I
connotation,
don't
which is
care.
what made it divisive.
I don't
I know
care.
you don't
The
care.
religious people could go to hell, literally. Because what you're now saying is that a government institution.
Yes, and saying religious people should go to hell is really going to change minds.
I'm not
It's really
interested in
going to help
changing
a gay
minds right now. I'm
person.
interested in
It's
talking to
really
you
going
and
to
hopefully
help
getting
a
through
gay
to you.
person that
Why are you
has
appealing to the
conservative
fact that it
family
was a
members.
religious institution? You hold on. I just want you to understand this. You said you're a fan of the Constitution. Yes or no, does the First Amendment make it so that the government or Congress cannot uphold or grant special privileges to specific religious identities or religious beliefs?
Yes, I understand what you're
Okay,
saying.
so if marriage is handled by the state, it is now a state institution. It must abide by the Constitution. So for the state institution to be in any way opposed to granting marriage licenses because of their own religious beliefs, that is a direct violation of the First Amendment.
Okay. I mean, I'm not anti-gay marriage. Like, I'm not.
Uh,
You asked me if I thought it was something, I just think that the Supreme Court decision, it's not the most solid. That's all. I mean, it could change, it could not. That's all. You asked me my opinion on if it was a made up right. That's my opinion.
I
It's not
just
the most solid thing.
no, your opinion is the thing that's not so solid. Like the all right, I'm just going to look up the 14th Amendment, okay? Tell me if you think that this would apply to gay marriage. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Do you think that getting married kind of falls within life and liberty?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not against gay marriage. You're trying to fight me on a position that I don't have.
I'm not. I'm not trying to fight you on a position you
You
don't have. I'm
are.
trying to demonstrate to you that it's completely contradictory for you to support the conservative side of things when the conservative side of things is threatening your rights, arguably violating the Constitution, or at least attempting to. It just seems contradictory. That's all. Do you understand where I'm coming from, at least?
I understand where you're coming from. Like I said, I've heard it 500,000 times. It's not new
Then
information,
that speaks
but I
volumes
am
to
allowed to have
your
different
lack
opinions.
of intelligence. The fact that you have heard these
No,
arguments
I think it speaks more to lack of
The
yours that
fact that
you
you have
can't
heard these
understand a
things
different opinion.
500 times, you've heard how Republicans are invested in trying to threaten your own rights, how they seem perfectly content to trample all over the fucking Constitution, and you just haven't taken that in? You haven't thought twice about it?
No, of course I have. I did the first 200 times maybe, but after a while, it's like, I live in the bloodest red state in America, and I do not have any issues being out in public. I have no issues talking with people. There is no issue. So it's like, it's a lot of
In
hyperbolic
Alabama,
BS.
it's not hyperbolic. It's that just if you don't experience things on a day-to-day basis does not mean that it's happening on a broader statistical level. Like, I could send you the statistics, for example, of the suicide rates of gay people, of how many gay people are kicked out of their homes, of how many gay people are victimized by violent crime. I'm glad that you don't experience those things. I do not want you to experience those things, but it is disingenuous and unfair for you to say, based on my personal experience, this is how it must be for everybody else. You're in Alabama, you said?
Hmm.
Okay, let's see.
I mean, it is not that bad. I don't understand what this is, but, it was people on the left that told me, oh, if you move to Alabama, be careful. You don't want to be too out there. You don't want people to, you're not in California anymore. Yeah, thank fucking God I'm not in California. I dealt with more homophobia there than I do here. California is a shithole. I'm very glad to be out of there.
Yeah, I mean, California, I've been there a couple times and it is pretty nasty, so.
It's a leftist hellhole.
Okay, hold
I
on.
mean,
Alabama Republicans on Thursday advanced what may be the most extreme anti-transgender bill any state has put forth yet. A package that bans gender-affirming medical treatment for kids, threatens doctors who provide such care with felonies, and requires schools to inform parents if a child indicates they may be transgender. So, this isn't gay marriage, of course. This is in regards to like trans or LGBT in its entirety. But I mean, this idea that like Alabama is totally just like a accepting little safe haven is just not the case. It's
The
just
thing
not
is
true.
not everybody, actually, most people don't agree with transitioning children. I mean, I don't agree with it.
I don't care. Why the fuck do I care if they agree with it? There are a lot of people that don't agree the
I'm just
world is
saying,
round. Who gives a
people are going
fuck?
to have opinions.
Yeah, they can have
I
opinions,
get
but
it, but we
opinions
don't
can be
all live
wrong.
on your planet.
Do you think that opinions can be wrong?
Yeah, I think yours is wrong for sure.
Okay, but you saying, well, a lot of people aren't in favor of this. I don't care. There are plenty of people that don't think the world is round. It doesn't change anything.
Okay.
Why does Alabama rank the lowest on every possible stat? That's what somebody said. Hold on.
I don't know. It's fine. I've had an okay experience. I've lived here for a couple years now. I'm so glad I lived here during COVID. It was open. I could have a life. I could go outside. I didn't have to wear a mask every day.
Oh my
I didn't have
God.
people shouting at me and all this crap all the time.
Hold on. I
I
just want to
didn't
make sure I'm
have
looking at this right. Yeah? Go
I
ahead.
didn't have to get a vaccine if I didn't want to. We didn't have, people getting fired from their jobs all the time. People could live their lives. People were outside singing and laughing and
I think
playing
we should.
music on their guitar. I mean, it
Yeah.
was totally different in a democratic state, in a democratic city. It was horribly different. It's like hell on earth. It is horrible. And I would never want to live like that, you know?
Sure.
It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
and I'm more than happy we can move over to the like vaccine and COVID shit in a second here. I just want to double check that I'm reading something correct here. Um so first of all, you live in Alabama, you said, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that state currently has no non-discrimination protections for LGBT people, which means that you actually could get fired for being gay, and there is no actual state law that mandates that doesn't happen. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this is from 2014, so I fully admit that it's possible that things have changed from now. But 52% of Alabama citizens say that being gay should be discouraged.
Yeah, and that was 2014, but both sides of the aisle were not really that in favor of it until around 2015. I mean, Obama didn't even support gay marriage until then,
You're right.
I mean, it wasn't,
That's true.
it
No,
was
but
on
there's
both
all
sides.
but
I'm
it's
not
always
trying to,
been the Democrats who have been more in favor. I mean, at the end of the
absolutely.
day, it was the Democrats who made it so that you have now a legal right to get married in any fucking state. So like it's true that people's acceptance of LGBT issues is gaining, and there's going to be, some people left behind and whatnot, but I just okay, we can just move on to the next topic, I guess. It's just you're living in a state where they are pushing forward extreme bills to try and prevent trans kids from possibly life-saving medical treatment. You're living in a state in which there is no non-discrimination laws, and you're living in a state where, in at least 2014, 52% of fucking Alabama citizens said that you should be discouraged. Like,
I know, but that means almost 10 years ago, almost half of people living here didn't feel that way, which is not at all what the left says. And how much less is it now? It's 2022. It's like I don't live in 1995. You know what I mean? The left wants everybody to live like it's 30 years ago. It's not. I live in the here and now. It's ridiculous.
let me see if I can. I'm
It's
trying
just
to see if I can
insane.
find anything updated here. Characteristics, socioeconomic indicators. Um. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really able to find anything newer. So, um. Okay. Well, just let it be known that I mean you're voting for the political side that like literally thinks that you are disgusting and abnormal. And largely thinks that you living your life freely should be discouraged. But I don't know. I guess the Republicans like to tout that they're
It's
like,
not true, but okay.
I mean, according to the latest Gallup poll, we have 55% of Republicans that now support gay marriage. We still have a large proportion of Republicans that don't. And then we have another proportion of Republicans, 37% or so, who think that it should actually be societally discouraged.
Yeah, but that means over half of conservatives you meet
Which
and talk to and are
just
friends with.
happened. It just happened in current year. Like, which
It's
side
been
do
a
you think
slow
has been more
process. It's been
consistent in their
happening.
acceptance of gay people?
Neither side. Absolutely neither.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
Well, you
telling you,
you can
it's
continue
not
living
about
in
the left
denial for
on the
this. We can
left.
move on to the next part. You're just you're in denial right now, like hardcore.
Okay, whatever.
Okay. Well, yeah. Before we move on, I just will also say I think it's really funny when the right wing is like, "Yeah, we love America, the land of the free, but gay people shouldn't really be that free." I just think that's a little cringe, but a little bit aside the point. So, do you want to move on to the COVID shit, or I mean, you mentioned the transgender surgery stuff. We could talk about that. I don't know. It's up to you where you want to go from here.
Well, it's a simple position. I don't support it. I don't think children can decide that. It's not healthy. It's very bad for your body.
Do you think that like
We have no idea what these hormones do to people in long-term studies. I would never want to have, if I had a child, I would never want that to happen to my child.
do
And
you
I
think that
certainly would
like
not
the
want it to
left is
happen.
kind of interested in grooming young kids into being gay or whatnot?
I don't think you can be groomed into being gay, but I
Well,
do
that's
think
true. Yeah,
you,
sorry. I phrased that wrong. I mean like being groomed into being more accepting of these things in their whole.
um, I think the left tries to groom, I don't know.
I just didn't
I
know where
think
you stood
it's,
on that.
okay, well, I think a lot of times, my opinion is that the left just stirs shit up to create drama and fighting and division. And I feel like that's what like a lot of the drag shows for kids are. It's just to create issues that didn't need to be there.
Well, the
Being on
drag
the
issues,
right,
I would actually agree that I really don't like that when drag
it's just
issues.
bad optics and it's not necessary and it shouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't understand how it's furthering gay acceptance at all. So
it's.
I'll
I
put it to you
honestly
that
don't
way.
think it is. I actually was about to
Mm.
say I really don't like that the drag shit is sort of lumped in with like LGBT stuff. I'm talking about more like at school. We've seen like the Libs of TikTok page, for example. We've seen plenty of claims that kids are being taught
Mm.
the trans agenda or whatever. They're going to be kind of groomed into either being trans or being accepting of this kind of lifestyle or degeneracy or whatnot. I don't know
Well,
how you kind of feel about that generally speaking.
I do think you can. It's a lot easier to convince somebody that they're trans when they're not than it is to convince somebody that they're gay. Because I could have probably been convinced that I was trans, right? I don't know if you could have. I don't know. Maybe you were gender typical, but I certainly am not. I mean, you can hear the sound of my voice, you can hear how I act, look, whatever, right? Extremely feminine. And so if I was a child now and I had an SJW parent, they probably would assume that I was trans and they would have put me on hormones and stuff that, quite frankly, as somebody who's almost 30, I am so grateful. I would never want, my sex drive to be gone. I would never want my ability to have children to be gone. I'm so glad that I have that choice because if I was like 5 years old or 12 years old, I maybe wouldn't be thinking about these things. And if I
So
never
do you
could experience a normal libido, for example, that would have been devastating. That would have been horrible.
Right, which I mean, by the way, Republicans, just on the subject of libido, Republicans are also talking about overruling anti sodomy laws as well, or bringing anti sodomy laws back to make it so that it's actually illegal to partake in sodomy. But that's, again, the previous conversation. I was going to ask if you feel that it might be,
Well, for the record, I would not agree with that, obviously,
well, they're just the
and
side
I
that
would
you're
fight
voting
against it.
for. So that's all the reason I brought that up. But I feel like there's a bit of a contradiction here, and I'm wondering if you can see it also, which is kids don't know they're trans, yet kids can be convinced that they're trans? How are they being quote unquote groomed or indoctrinated with this kind of shit, yet they're not able to just have a general understanding
I
that they
think
might be
it's
trans?
kind of the manipulation of it, and it's a lot of the language. And children are not, they're not obviously as developed as adults, right? So they're very suggestible. So if you say like, well, if you like the color pink, then you're more like a girl, aren't you? that kind of logic, that would work for somebody who's like 5 years old. Do you
And
get
that's
what I'm
not even
saying?
what's that's literally not what's happening. But that's still aside the point. Like,
No, I'm not saying I with teachers and stuff, it's a lot of they usually go for stereotypes. So like if a girl is not 100% feminine, then they'll or if she's depressed, they use it as a catch-all for mental illness of any kind. So if somebody's depressed or they're anxious or whatever, they tend to say, "Oh, you must be trans because you're not exactly, you're a tomboy, so you're trans now." I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you're seeing. And they convince them and the therapists talk about it. They keep it a secret from the parents. That's not okay. I'm sorry. And
um,
it's
so the
not okay.
do you think that kids can have like depression or anxiety? Do you think that they can suffer from those types of mental illnesses?
Yeah,
So why is it so
can.
unfathomable that a child could be suffering from gender dysphoria?
They could be, but it's irreversible for the most part.
Hold on,
Like
wait.
if you
Killing
cannot,
yourself. Wait,
like,
wait, wait. Hanging yourself from the nearest ceiling fan because you're so depressed and so gender dysphoric is irreversible. I'm
but
wondering
that's
if you.
just emotional
No,
manipulation.
it's
Like
not. It's
you're
a
trying
literal
to, yes,
statistical
it is.
fact. Wait, at the beginning of this, you said that I was pulling up too many studies and wasn't appealing to the emotions. I am giving you a literal fact right now that might even warrant an emotional response because it sucks that trans people are killing themselves at higher rates. My question is if people who are depressed, or if kids can feel depressed and experience depression, how then could you, can kids not then experience gender dysphoria? I'm not talking about treatment right now. I just mean generally speaking.
Yes. Yeah, they can. I'm sure I did too, to a certain extent.
So then
I
what
did
does it
not fit
mean when you
in
say that
with
like kids don't know? They can't possibly know. They're too young. Like if kids are able to recognize that they're depressed, why then would they not be able to also recognize that they might have gender dysphoria?
it's not that they can't recognize the dysphoria, it's that they can't process the long-term consequences, like sacrificing a libido, your ability to reproduce,
What do you think happens with
irreversible
the
surgeries,
I
these
I'm
kind
not
of
saying this
things.
to be like condescending even, but it just sounds like you don't really know what happens at all. Like, do you know what happens when a kid has gender dysphoria? Like, do you know what the process is?
Usually put them on puberty blockers.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, do you know that it's not like you like pink, Timmy, so let's go get your puberty blockers? I mean, you know that, for example, I think it's adults, I'm pretty sure for kids it's even longer, that you must show persistent gender dysphoria for a minimum of, or a minimum of 6 months. Like a persistent mental illness documented by multiple different doctors and therapists, and then maybe the solution there is puberty blockers, which are largely reversible. I just sounds like you're treating it like it's this very whimsical,
It's not that reversible.
but you're
It's
treating it
not.
like it's a super flimsy thing. Like, oh, the kids that just don't know are all of a sudden gonna fucking get
Months of the child's
irreversible
life,
surgery.
like,
Like, do you think that a kid doesn't know if they've been confirmed gender dysphoric persistently for 6+ months by multiple different doctors and therapists?
no, they don't because they could grow out of it still. And it
They
happens
could
more
also
often than
not.
not.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it
No,
does.
for children that are actually confirmed gender dysphoric, it is a proven fact that the majority of them go on to transition, and for those that don't, usually the reason they choose not to is due to, again, social reasons, discrimination that they face, probably from Republicans, the side you vote for. So I mean, at the end of the day, like we can talk about the effects of puberty blockers if you want. It absolutely is largely reversible. The majority of people that are confirmed gender dysphoric young later go on to transition. And again, you have to kind of weigh the benefits and the risks here, right? You either have the very high risk of this child killing themselves, especially if they already are having some kind of body dysphoria and then they go through a puberty which doesn't align with their internal perception or identity, or you take the safer route and you consider putting them on puberty blockers, which are FDA approved, have been used for literal decades, have been used for kids that are not even trans to stop precocious puberty, and are largely reversible.
Yeah, we're not going to agree on this. So if you want to move on.
Do you think if like hypothetically, if I was correct that like that it was largely reversible, do you think that it's better to take the safe route there? If you know of like a significant higher likelihood of I'm sorry. This is why I have to have my Skype closed out. If you're aware of like a very high likelihood of kids with gender dysphoria killing themselves, like wouldn't it be the better solution to put them on the treatment that's been generally proven to be safe and effective?
I don't know. You're asking me hypotheticals. This is weird. We can move on. Like I said, I don't agree with you. So
Okay. Yeah, do you want to talk about some COVID stuff? I don't know how much longer you have to talk. I'm happy to keep on going for a little while longer.
I'm okay. So,
Okay. So yeah, let's we can talk about the COVID shit.
hmm
So that's another reason why you heavily dislike the left, because of the vaccine mandates and nurses getting
yeah, I would
fired.
say after the years of COVID, I mean, I don't know if there was ever that much of a chance of me voting Democrat, but certainly after that, I never will, ever. I would sooner, I would sooner never vote again than vote Democrat. So,
I mean, you
yeah.
talk about the like nurses getting fired and everything, and you seem to have a big issue with that. I I feel like that's pretty cut and dry. Like you agree to certain standards when you take a job, and if you're not going to abide by those standards, then you're probably going to get fired.
I guess. Who's putting in those standards? And who do
Usually
those
you
people
agree
that
to
put
this.
in
If
those
you're a
standards?
nurse, I would assume that if you're a
Usually, the people that are putting in those standards, who are they usually voting for, right?
the standards aren't
That's
necessarily
that
put in
kind
from
of
like
thing.
people of government, I don't think.
No, but they're put in from Democratic voters, typically. So that's my issue. It's this culture of the left of you should just control everybody's life, tell them they can't even leave their
You
house,
can't
they
put
can't
this
do
on
anything.
you wait. You literally can't put this just on the left when we have the fucking Republicans that are interested in controlling quote unquote gay people's lives or trans kids' lives and
So
trying
it's
to
better to control
withhold.
everybody's life. I mean,
No,
that's so
that
stupid.
we're not
Yes,
no
what
one's
you just
life is
said.
being controlled here. We're talking specifically about nurses, which according to what I'm seeing, the American Nurses Association, this doesn't appear to be a government organization. It sounds as if it's
The left,
strongly
they're usually leftists that push this
that
shit.
doesn't stem from their leftist quote unquote politics. It's that
It
generally
does.
speaking, the position of most American nursing associations goes with, hey, if you're a nurse, you need to be vaccinated. This is the most obvious thing. This is like complaining that the left wants to control everybody's life because I got fired for refusing to attend the sexual harassment seminar hosted by my work. Like, you agree to certain standards when you take jobs. And one of those standards as a nurse is that you're going to get vaccinated so that you're not a higher risk.
It was experimental. It was
It was not.
very new.
Stop
I can
saying this,
understand why
please.
people did that.
Graphically Alex, please. I'm going to give you a chance to just walk back that statement if you'd like. Do you want to walk back the fact that it was experimental? Because that's not true.
You're gonna say, "Oh, it was they already did the experiment phase, blah blah blah," but it was the
Yes, it went through
fastest
all the proper.
ever approved thing.
First of all, you realize it went faster because of Trump, right?
Yes, I do.
So that's who you voted for. And now you're trying to
Yes,
blame this on the left or somehow. Like, it was because of Trump that we had Project Warp Speed. And
I
that
don't
is
have
what
an issue with the vaccine. I have an issue with it being forced. It's not.
you
There are
obviously have
two
some kind
different
of an issue if you're claiming it's
conversations.
experimental.
It was the fastest thing ever. I can understand why people wouldn't have wanted it and why people felt they didn't need it. You
Okay,
know,
again,
it's up to somebody's life choices.
it's
And I
not
thought
because
the
other
left
people
is
have a
so up
right
to
to
right
not get
choices.
sick. Other people have a right to not get sick. For the well being of all of
Didn't affect
society,
anything.
certain
I
behaviors and.
know, but the vaccine didn't prevent infections. It
Are
didn't
you kidding me
prevent
right now?
spread.
Wait, you're joking, right? You're
How many
memeing?
people have gotten it that have been vaccinated?
Okay. Let's let's back up for a second, okay? The first thing you said was that the vaccine was
We went
experimental.
to like Dream World a couple times. I
We are in dream
swear.
world because you are spewing nonstop delusion right now. One, it's
No.
not experimental. It went through a faster process to be approved. However, the way in which that was accomplished was by putting more people on the job, not by cutting corners. So by the very definition of what it even means to be, or for something to be experimental, it does not even meet that criteria. So it by definition was not experimental. That was
You're gonna
factually
go by
incorrect.
semantics.
It's
Okay,
not
fine.
semantics. When you say
It
it's
is.
experimental, that is an attempt to fearmonger and make it sound like this is way more risky and not so safe, or we're not so sure we can trust this. Whereas if you are aware that it's not experimental, that adds far more validity to the vaccine. This isn't semantics, dude. And even if it was, semantics fucking matter.
It is, but whatever. When I say experimental, what I mean is it's a completely different type of vaccine.
That doesn't mean
It
it's
came out of
experimental.
it came
Okay, but
very
go ahead.
fast, and people, there are questions on how it affects certain people, and there
Of
still
course there
are.
are. Yes,
And
of
that's the same
course.
for any vaccine.
But
So
you're keep saying things that are just wrong. It's different than any other vaccine. It's true that the mRNA vaccine,
mRNA is different.
yes, but
Yes.
again, you are sort of trying to like bake this in with the whole like experimental shit thing and whatnot. Like mRNA vaccines, mRNA technology has been being used since I think at least 2011. It's been used for cancer patients, for example. They've used the same mRNA technology for that. This idea that like it's just now being tested on humans, it's bullshit. This has been over 10 years now we have of
I
research
didn't say
on
that.
mRNA vaccines.
But there hasn't been an mRNA vaccine approved for such large scale use so fast. That just hasn't happened.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter because people have a right to question things.
They have a
People
right to
have a right
question it,
to not
yes,
want to
but they
do
don't
that.
have a right to base their refusal to take something that is safe and effective and makes all of society safer because they're dipshits who read too many scary memes on Facebook. Like you must recognize.
Passionate left, everyone, on full display.
You can try to like make it sound as if like, oh, Hunter's getting mad, LOL. Yeah, my grandfather actually died of
No,
COVID.
I don't.
So I feel that I'm
Sure.
actually in a position where I'm actually justified, even personally speaking, to be a little mad about COVID and the vaccine shit. Yeah, my grandpa literally was on a ventilator and suffered for 2 fucking weeks straight until he went into a state of being completely unconscious. And my grandma told me that she went in to see him, and before they cut the ventilator and he died, she said that he had seemed so drained out and she was actually just like terrified at the power of death that had overcome my grandfather. So, am I giving an emotional anecdote right now? Yes, because me getting mad or passionate about this is irrelevant to the argument. The argument
It's not
at
that. It's just it comes across as cold. That's all.
what does?
The fact that you don't care about somebody's life of service towards something just because they had questions about something which a year
It
earlier
wasn't
it
they
was
had
totally fine
questions.
for them to
It
be
wasn't that
working.
they didn't have questions. You keep
Yeah, they
doing
didn't want to
this.
do it.
No. You're unironically oh, they just had questions, Pepe. No. They had questions. They answered the questions themselves by looking at dumb fuck articles on Facebook and then took a stand of not going to take a vaccine, which was part of the agreement for their job. Like, it seems as if you don't care about people that are dying from COVID. You don't seem to care about the fact that when people get sick with COVID, even if people have the vaccine and then they suffer a breakthrough infection, it is a statistical fact that they are far less likely to go to the hospital. That is a fact. And you know what? Hospital resources are limited. If the hospital resources are being taken up from dipshits who are too scared of the vaccine because they listen to you too much, then that is going to negatively impact everybody, even people who do not have COVID issues. The kid who falls off his bike and needs to get stitches is now going to have a tougher time getting service or getting treatment because the resources are being worn thin, because people that are not vaccinated are far more likely to have severe symptoms, whereas people who are vaccinated are not only less likely to just get the virus to begin with, even if they do, they're less likely to need to go to the hospital. You must recognize that if you're going to complain about the shortage of nurses, that filling hospital beds with people that could have otherwise not needed to fill those beds had they just gotten a safe and effective vaccine is obviously a bad thing. It's doing a net harm to all of society, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not good, I guess, if there's no hospital beds, but that never really happened.
It
Not even in
absolutely
states.
did. I can send you some articles if you'd like.
Well, it
Hospital
didn't happen
resources in the
here.
peak of COVID with Delta and whatnot were absolutely strained. Now you're being in La La
It was
Land.
strange, but there was never a time, not in Alabama anyways, where people couldn't get treatment. It was strained. I do agree with that, but it's still, without a mandate on everybody, it didn't. The thing is, like,
I'm
it's
gonna
not
look up
that
an
I
article
don't
for it.
care about people who die from COVID. It's just you know, I don't think the vaccine is. I don't know how to express what I'm trying to say.
Okay, while you think about that, I'm gonna pull this up here.
My biggest issue with the vaccine was really just that they pushed it for every single person and they didn't allow any nuance whatsoever. And there are many people that have had issues with it. And that's
Do you think
just a
there are also
fact.
many people who benefited from it?
Yes.
Do you think there are more
And I
people
think
who
it should have
benefited
been
it
people's
from it than
choice.
people that didn't?
I guess, but I mean, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like you're being a little inconsistent.
How so?
So, because you're telling me that I should prioritize gay marriage over everybody's basic rights to leave their house.
People were
But
allowed to leave
as
their
long as
houses. I mean, unless you're talking about like a short time with the lockdowns. But again, like,
I'm talking about the lockdowns and I'm being hyperbolic, but the point
well,
is
hold on. I have a quick question
people's
just for
ability to
clarification.
live their lives
Were the lockdowns done on a federal level or were they done on a state by state level?
was state by state, and it
So
was
they have
mostly blue
okay, cool.
states.
So they have a constitutional right to do that. You're phony, dude, when you come up here and say that you're like a big constitutional conservative.
Yeah, they
You
do
don't give
have
a
a
fuck about the
constitutional right, but
Constitution. The
I
10th
don't
Amendment
agree
gives
with it.
states the rights to literally mandate vaccines and to do lockdowns.
Sure, they certainly were able to, but I would never vote for people that would. Do you not understand that?
So you're okay. It's fine.
I
The
don't
fact that
support
you're
lockdowns. I never
unironically
did.
saying like, "Oh, well, they're trying to stop people's freedoms," but yet the Democrats are bad, even though the Democrats right now are the ones who seem to be abiding by the Constitution. It's the Republicans that are trampling all over it.
What?
States have a constitutional right to enforce vaccine mandates and to enforce lockdowns. They have a
Yes, and
right
it's a
based on the
Democratic position to do so.
They have a right based on the Constitution to do so.
I didn't say they didn't.
I know, but what you said at the beginning of this is that you value the Constitution. You said how abortion shouldn't really be considered because it's not in the Constitution. I don't know if this thing is in the Constitution. Yet now we have something that is in the Constitution, but you don't
No,
like
it
it just because the
is.
Democrats are
They
doing
had an
it?
ability to do it, and I left. Thank God I was able to leave the state. You know? I mean, do you wonder why I live in Alabama?
I mean,
Jeez.
I am a little bit, it is a little bit strange
It's
considering
because it
there's
was
no laws that
open.
even prevent you from being discriminated against, but
Well, and yet I'm somehow okay. I must
thankfully,
be a fucking miracle
you're one of
child.
the lucky ones.
Yeah,
Um,
apparently.
I'm still trying to find the hospitalization thing here. I have a
It
ton
was
of info on
packed in
how it's.
Alabama, but
Here we go. Unvaccinated COVID-19 hospitalizations cost billions of dollars. Okay. Despite the availability of safe and effective COVID vaccines, vaccination rates have lagged. This was from last year in December. As of early December 2021, 70% of adults were unvaccinated. Our recent analysis found that insurers are beginning to reinstate cost sharing for COVID-19 treatment. Okay. So this is costing billions of dollars. Like, these resources are limited here. Estimated cost of preventable COVID-19 hospitalizations among unvaccinated adults in the U.S. June to November 2021. $4 billion in just of August 2021. So that's just another little fast fact for you there.
Sure, and I know the lockdowns had zero economic impact whatsoever and didn't cost anything.
Economic impact? No, they did have an economic impact, but you know what
Yeah,
else
they
did?
did.
COVID. People weren't
No, the
out
government
shopping,
response
hustling,
to
and
COVID
bustling
did.
during COVID. Like, even before there were quote-unquote lockdowns mandated or whatever, like, the people weren't shopping. Businesses were already suffering. However, I would agree with you, since I'm a social democrat, that absolutely the government should, and if they haven't, need to reimburse those companies, the small businesses that aren't able to recover from having their businesses forcibly shut down. This is absolutely something that the government needs to fix. The government needs to improve that. Because although lockdowns did have a benefit, and although lockdowns were constitutionally justified, the fact that small businesses suffered, like, that fucking sucks. I don't want to see that shit. I don't want to see that happen. That's terrible. And so I think the government should do something about it. So we'd probably agree right there. Here's one that I actually want. Unvaccinated COVID patients straining hospital resources. October 2021. A South Charlotte woman says she desperately needs hip surgery, but she's being forced to wait weeks because hospitals are overloaded with COVID-19 patients. Okay. So
also because they fired all the nurses.
They fired the nurses because they weren't taking a safe and effective vaccine and putting other people at risk.
Fired everybody.
They were putting other people at risk, dude.
Okay.
They were putting other people at risk. It lowers your likelihood of getting the virus. Therefore, it lowers your likelihood of spreading the virus. Nurses shouldn't be as susceptible as the general public when it comes to spreading COVID. Come on, man. 2 fucking brain cells is all it takes to recognize that this is obviously the correct position. Nurses need to be abiding by the utmost highest standards when it comes to prioritizing their own health if they are going to take other people's health into their own hands.
Anyways, well, what else?
You're just not even gonna respond? Are you just gonna, like, just roll your eyes and just, like, forget about it? Like, what?
No, because I don't agree with you.
Yeah, but you criticized me in my John Doyle debate for not responding to the arguments. You haven't responded to hardly anything I've said. Do you think that I would have looked really good optically if John Doyle said, you know, women are way less rational than men? And I said, okay, sure. Well, you know, I just I don't agree with you, but whatever. Like, I'm pretty sure you and Karlyn would have a heyday talking about what a soy boy, cuck, beta, bitch that I am if that happened. Like, you need to either respond or basically just admit that you don't have a fucking argument.
No, I already said what I had to say. I said you shouldn't force people to do it. It creates hospital shortages. It creates shortages all over because people don't do what they're being forced to do. It doesn't work anyways, and it just creates more problems.
When you say it doesn't work, what doesn't work? What
people
doesn't
don't
work?
do it. They leave the job.
So you're not, just to be clear, you're not saying that you're not saying the vaccine doesn't work. You're saying it's the mandates don't work.
Mandates don't work. So there's no point.
They literally do. This is where I like to bring out statistics, those things that you like to call bullshit, because you can see that as more mandates are put in place, the rate of people getting vaccinated upticks. So that is a fact.
And
second
the rate
of all,
of people quitting and leaving their jobs also.
Yeah, if they're stupid as fuck and they don't want to actually go and get the safe and effective vaccine, then that's on them. So long, sucker. Don't be dumb as shit. Like, this is why, I mean, I had my whole anti-vax, anti-COVID arc where I talked about the people that were literally brain dead who opposed the vaccine. And I still really hold by that position because I've never heard a single fucking argument as to why people shouldn't get the vaccine. It's always based on misinformation or just blatant ignorance. I want to try to explain something to you. Principally speaking, do you recognize that for a society to function properly, we restrict people's freedoms every single day for the betterment and the well-being of general society? Like, principally speaking.
I guess it depends on what it is, doesn't it?
So, for example, we restrict other people's freedoms to kill people because although the murderer's freedom to go out and kill people has now been restricted, we restrict freedom in order to grant more freedom. It sounds counterintuitive and counterproductive, but if every time I walk out of my door, I have the risk of getting an axe in the back of my fucking head, then I don't have as much freedom. So we restrict a killer's freedom from killing in order to benefit the net freedom for all of society.
I would agree with, yes, killing people should not be legal. You know what I'm saying? So there are certain things I would agree with it and certain things I wouldn't. Right?
Right. So if we're
So
clear in it, go ahead, sir.
I don't think being able to go to your job is going to be something that should be illegal or should be banned or whatever. Not even illegal because they didn't make laws or anything. It's like people should have a right to earn money. People should have a right to live
You're
their
right.
lives
They
if they
should.
choose to. They have a
Yes.
right to their own
And
risks.
businesses have a right to enforce certain rules, and other employees at that work who also have a right to earn money have a right to not get sick. So if you already recognize, principally speaking, we restrict certain people's freedoms in order to better the freedom for all of society, do you not see how this can easily apply to the vaccine situation? If you are restricting other people's quote-unquote freedom to not get the vaccine that's been proven safe and effective, by forcing that, by taking away their freedom in this instance, you are benefiting the net freedom of all of society, because I don't live my life as freely if I risk getting a disease that could hospitalize me or put my grandparents at risk if I just need to go to the grocery store or if I just need to go to my daily job.
Again, I mean, these are the kind of logical points of why I'm not on the left. You know, I think that is horrible. I think that is egregious to say that you have to control somebody else's right to live their life, even at a distance from you, just so you
We
can feel
already
safe.
do this. So,
I
like,
mean, that is just disgusting to me.
are you okay with restricting drunk drivers' freedoms to drive their car drunk?
Walking outside of your house unvaccinated is not the same thing as driving drunk. And
Unless you're
again,
talking
this
about,
is
hold
what
on, wait,
leftists
unless you're
do
talking
all
about
the
literal
time.
lockdowns, there is no federal or even state mandate which said you cannot exit your fucking home if you're not vaccinated. Most of these were private businesses that were making these decisions themselves. I don't even know, and I could be wrong, but I don't even know if there was a single state that actually mandated it. But again, even if they did, they have a constitutional right. And also, I'll throw a bone to the conservatives because I see a lot of inbred dipshit conservatives here in my chat. Even our good old fellow George fucking Washington was in favor of vaccine mandates. In fact, he even said that if he had the ability to, he would make it so that kids would be inoculated against their parents' will. That is according to George Washington, one of the pillars, the founders of this country. So I think the conservatives listening at least will hopefully appreciate that one. But do you recognize, or I want to know your opinion, like, are you okay with prohibiting people's freedoms to drive drunk?
No, but I don't see it as the same. And that's another issue I have with the left is people on the left, they see everything as the same, and it's not.
No, it's not. Not
Somebody
everything is the same. Not at all. They're
being unvaccinated in a restaurant is not the same thing as driving drunk. It just isn't.
why?
I mean, that's
What makes it
ridiculous.
different?
I don't know. Everything? What makes it the same? That's
Well, you
crazy.
restrict drunk drivers from driving drunk, which, mind you, you are now restricting what they can do with their body and how they can operate their property, their vehicle, for the sake of other people, for the sake of the safety of other people. Do you know how many people drive drunk and don't actually cause any issues? Do you know how many people like get drunk at the local bar and then they, a little tipsy or whatnot, they just drive home? But yet we restrict that behavior because it has the high possibility or high likelihood of causing harm on somebody else. I have less freedom, again, if I am unable to go driving down the street because someone else has the freedom to drive drunk.
It's not the same. It's because you're adding something to your body or you're choosing not to, right?
You're adding
So
alcohol to your body, which you're not allowed to
vaccine
do.
is being added,
Hmm.
alcohol is being added. So it's the opposite. It would be more like
Why is that
not
such a
allowing people
substantial
to drive.
difference? One
Well,
is,
it'd be like
they're
not
both
allowing people
controlling
to
what you
drive
can and can't do with
over.
your body. I mean, if we want to get really basic, like the
It
state
is
actually
different.
does mandate what you do with your body in regards to stepping outside of your home. You are not allowed legally to go outside naked. The government mandates that you put clothes on your body to go outside. You could literally go to prison if you don't do that.
Right. I understand what you're saying. And like I said, in certain circumstances, I support it, and in certain, I don't, just like anybody else,
Okay, so
right?
if you support it,
So,
if you support restricting the freedoms of drunk drivers to drive drunk, because the likelihood of it
no, I
causing
don't.
what?
I don't support people drunk driving. I never said
No, no,
that.
no. I know. I'm saying you support restricting their freedom to drive drunk. You're in favor of making sure that it's illegal, essentially, to not drive
Hmm.
drunk or to drive drunk.
I get
not
you, yes.
not 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 to drive drunk. That would probably not be great. But and the reason we do that though is because of the likelihood that it has to inflict harm on other people. So why then would we not also mandate that in order for you to participate in general society, again, we're mostly talking about um what, like private businesses, to say, hey, you need to get vaccinated. You need to give up that freedom to not get vaccinated. And yet you do that. That freedom is restricted because it benefits the freedom of everybody else. The cancer patient, the grandma, me, no one should have their freedoms jeopardized because they have a freedom to not get sick from a preventable disease.
Like I said, it doesn't play out that way. It just doesn't. So people still spread it when they got the vaccine. It didn't do as much as they said. I mean, they lied about it, but the point is, it's not the same as drunk driving because when it comes to a vaccine, you're adding something to your body. Just like with alcohol, you're adding something to your body. It's different. So you're saying you should be able to drive drunk, which is you inebriated yourself with substances from outside your body, putting it in, versus you shouldn't be able to go to a restaurant when you didn't put anything in your body. It's different. Not the same.
So what about the clothes example though?
Close example, I can understand, but no, clothes are not inside your body. It's different. It's still different.
So it sounds like you're trying to like make it so that the vaccine is somehow different from all these things. We can talk about the practicality and the logistics of the vaccine because you said they lied about it. I wasn't sure what you.
It's different. It'd be like forcing everybody to wear the same exact type of clothing when maybe a certain percentage of people are allergic to that clothing and will break out in hives or have
No,
really
this
bad
is called
issues.
over 1 million people dying from COVID in this country. So we should probably be taking measures to make sure that COVID cannot spread as easily, at the very least. So, principally, they are almost the same thing. We restrict behavior and freedom to protect the freedom of
They're
other
not the
people.
same. It's different.
Well, we can talk about the logistics of the vaccine if you want. What do you think? What do they lie about?
The effectiveness.
How so?
They acted like it was extremely effective and it wasn't. There were many, many breakthrough cases. Many people have died that have gotten both shots or three or four or five or whatever.
Excuse me. Sorry. So sorry.
I mean, I understand the vaccine,
Wait, no, it said it was effective because it was. The vaccine was originally developed for the alpha variant, and it had what, like a 93% effective rate?
for a while.
So they didn't lie.
Well, the thing is the virus changed,
Right.
And then it did, and then it was a lie. It just didn't work out that way,
Well, no, it was
you
still
know.
really effective against Delta. And then even if you did get a breakthrough infection, which became more likely as the vaccine waned and as new variants came out, this is how viruses, pathogens generally work anyway.
Mhm.
Starts off by killing the old, then it becomes more survivable because it can live longer by flooding essentially to a younger generation. Um, but like the vaccine still was very effective in preventing people from getting it initially and then preventing people from, if they did get it, going to the hospital. I would rather, if I'm going to get COVID either way, I'd rather get COVID that lasts a couple days and it's kind of uncomfortable and I have a stuffy nose and I have to
Right. I
quarantine
don't have an
than
I
going
mean,
to a hospital and have to be put on a ventilator and then, maybe die.
I have no issue with the vaccine. I have an issue with it being forced. Those are two different questions.
Okay, well, we can
It's
talk.
two different things.
Yeah, but we already force certain behaviors on people and force people to not take certain behaviors for the benefit of general society. We already went over that. I'm just talking about the thing where you said they lied.
Yeah, they acted as if you couldn't spread it for a while, and then they're like, "Oh wait, never mind, you can." And then, "Oh wait, never mind, it's not as effective with this variant." "Oh wait, no,
Well,
you're
yeah.
gonna have to get a third shot actually, not just two. Oh, maybe you should get another one." Like it just, they change. Maybe lie is the wrong word, but clearly what they said in the beginning was not at all what it ended up being. That's
No,
what I'm
what they
trying to
said in
say.
the beginning was that it was very, very effective, and in the beginning it was extremely effective.
Sure, and then it changed.
So there was no lie, and yes, it changed. I don't know if you have even a basic understanding of how science works. Science corrects science, okay? So the variant changes, there's new
I
variants that come along,
understand that,
and then the science
but if
also
somebody didn't
changes.
want
So hold on, no,
to see,
please, shut up. Because they can only fucking. You can't
I
accuse
have
them
been
of.
respectful towards you. I'm not going to take
I
disrespect from you.
do not care. People always try to pull that on me. I don't play by civility politics. That's actually what cringy soy boy SJWs do, and that's not for me. So, again, the vaccine was originally
Leftist
touted as being.
compassion.
I don't need to be
Leftist
compassionate.
compassion.
Why? Where is
Here
this?
we
What
go.
is this idea
So
that?
nice. Look at how nice the left is, you
What is this
guys. Aren't
idea
you
that
just
you have to
feeling
be
the
nice? Are
love?
you serious
I'm
right now?
feeling so not discriminated against. I'm
Wait, you
feeling
think I'm
so well treated.
discriminating against you right now?
Yeah,
Is
I do.
being rude being discriminatory?
I guess.
Wait, no, not I guess. You just said that. Do you think being rude is being discriminatory? You're trying to it's kind of weird because it seems like you're almost trying to pull the gay card right now. You're trying to
No,
accuse
I'm
me of being
trying to show you.
discriminatory
That's what I'm
towards you.
doing
I'm
because
not
you're
being
disrespectful.
discriminatory unless you're saying I'm being discriminatory against stupidity. I'm not being discriminatory towards literally anybody. Your claim was that they lied. The claim was that the vaccine was extremely effective because at first it was. Science is self-correcting. So if there is a new variant that comes out, the vaccine is not going to be as effective any longer. So they are going to change what they're saying. This is literally called being truthful.
Okay.
Okay, that's it?
The thing is, sure, it changed. Like I said, maybe lie wasn't the right word. It changed. It didn't live up to what they said. It wasn't in reality what they said. That's what I'm saying.
It
But I feel
was.
like we're getting into the
They
weeds here.
No, no,
So
no. We're not getting into the weeds. If you wanted to get all semantical and specific about the difference between drunk drivers and getting a vaccine, we can get specific about what they said and when they said it. So if the scientists or Fauci or whoever the fuck is saying, "Hey, it's really really effective," when it was originally really really effective, then that is a good thing. They're telling the truth. And then if they say, "Hey, it's not as effective now because of the new variant," they're not lying. They're telling the fucking truth.
okay.
I just did you
Like I
vote
said, it probably wasn't the right word choice. It didn't end up being what they said. That's what I'm said. That's what I
Did you
meant.
vote for Trump just out of curiosity? I'm not going to start shitting on you being a Trump supporter or whatever, but
Obviously, yes.
I
Of
just find it
course.
okay. So if you care about lying so much, are you aware of how Trump lied to virtually the entire world about COVID? You heard the audio
Both
from
sides
February,
lie
right?
about it.
Huh?
Everybody lied about it. I don't know anybody
No,
who
you can't
didn't lie about
justify
it.
it by saying everybody lied about it. Not everybody lied about it. The scientists were the most accurate with it. Donald Trump literally was caught on audio admitting that he knew the virus was far more deadly than the flu. He said that himself. He said, this is something else. This is way more deadly than the flu. It's way more contagious. And yet he had the gall 2 fucking weeks later to get up in front of everybody and say, guys, it's just the flu. It'll go away. It's just like the flu.
I did not like that. So I didn't like that he did that.
Okay, it just seems that you're like, I will never vote for the left because of the lies. And yet you're like, well, Trump's lies, I don't like them, but okay, whatever.
I'm not going to say that. I didn't say because of the lies. I said because of everything else they've done, which is different.
Well, we've talked about, quote unquote, everything else they've done. And so far, it just seems that you just don't have an understanding of what they're doing. So,
no.
Okay, well, I guess do we want to just end the call here? Or do you want to keep... I mean, we didn't get to the burning businesses BLM shit.
Yeah, well, we don't have to go over that stuff. But do you have any other questions or anything?
Yeah, how does it feel to get bent over and be my bitch in this call?
Oh my God. Doesn't feel like anything because it didn't happen.
I'm not fucking kidding. If you have the gall to get all sassy with Karlyn Borysanko, that stupid dumb cunt, and you have the gall to get up there and be like, haha, Hunter sucks, he's so bad, he was his little bitch, and you then come over to debate me, not only do you first try to give me your little advice for like how to debate better, you unironically had no arguments. You went, I don't know, you had a sassy eye roll, and you accused me of homophobia.
Yes, I had no arguments at all.
You didn't. You did. You gave no fucking arguments. You gave opinions and feelings the entire time. It was, I don't agree with this thing. I don't like this thing. It was like unironically talking to an actual SJW who couldn't get out of their safe space. That's what this conversation felt like.
Yeah, no, I think the SJWs are the ones that want to control everybody else's life because they're afraid.
Like control gay people, tell them that they can't get married, tell them that they can't have sex because they're gay.
I didn't say
the
that.
people, that you vote for, the people that you are consistently voting for.
I would argue against it.
Okay, cool. Well, either way, I appreciate the mind-melting conversation. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And yeah, maybe like just rethink, I don't know, everything. And maybe, you know what? No, I'm sorry. Don't rethink. Actually, just think. Like, you don't have an opinion on anything. You're more just like conservative because it's like aesthetically pleasing and, lefties cringy on Twitter. Ooh woo.
No,
you've never thought
true.
through a single fucking thing in your mind, dude. I want to believe that you have more than 2 goddamn brain cells to rub together. So I like to believe that you actually have the ability to rethink shit. Or excuse me, I messed up again. Not rethink. Think. Just start thinking.
What do you want to know?
I want to know how the fuck you're functioning in society when you're this fucking stupid.
Why I don't want to vote for them. I told you.
I want to know how. My question is how you're functioning in the society when you're this fucking dumb.
I'm doing pretty good.
Like I've said this to other people too, but I feel like you're the type of person to unironically like fall off the toilet. Like you need a hospice nurse with you 24/7.
Well, I did fall out of the shower because I was so dizzy when I got vaccinated. So I guess that happened.
Did you fall out of the shower and hit your head? Is that maybe why you're like, you seem to be like demented?
No.
Could that be it?
No, my giant ass actually protected me and I didn't get hurt at all.
Okay. Well.
But I will say those side effects were a bitch. So I can understand why people didn't want to do it.
And I tell you, for all those side effects, the side effects that I'm going to have from this mind-melting, pathetically stupid conversation is actually going to be 10 times worse than any side effect you had from the vaccine.
You know what I want to say? I think that you definitely found your home on the left. You are just as bitter and nasty.
Oh, here we go.
Disgusting as all of them.
So mean. So mean. Are you going to cry about it? You sound like you're triggered. Are you triggered SJW right now?
No, you are. You're the one that's been yelling the whole time and telling me to shut up.
Yelling isn't triggered. You're the one who's getting mad and getting offended because I was being a little mean.
I'm not offended. I just think you're a dick.
Well, you can think I'm a dick or whatever, but again, it sounds like you're triggered right now.
It's just anybody in the audience that wants to know why I don't vote Democrat, look at how Hunter's treating me. This is why. Okay.
Holy shit, dude.
Look at how
I've been like desperate to like hang up on your fucking dumb ass, but Holy shit. The fact that you just said that is like the final nail in the coffin for you, because it
I'm
demonstrates
trying to show
that
people why I don't vote for
this
Democrats.
is the
Anybody
problem.
that's
The fact
interested.
that you would not vote for certain policies based on how one person on YouTube talks because somebody was a dick
It's
to
not one
you, you have
person.
the
It's
most
every
shallow
single one of
understanding of
you.
politics.
Every single
Politics
one
for
of
you
you
is
is
like a
like this.
team. Politics for you is like, hey, well, these people were mean to me,
You're
so I'm going to vote for
projecting
the other
now.
side. Haha, fuck them.
Okay, Hunter.
Dude, you're such a
All right.
bitch.
All right,
Get the fuck out of here.
projection.
Oh, and tell Karlyn Borysanko that she's a bitch and can go fuck herself too. Goodbye. I always just try to let my patience like go as far as possible, but then at the after a while I'm just like, okay, I'm done. I'm no longer going to do this shit. I'm going to be mean, and I'm okay with that. The whole like the tolerant left. Oh, look at the tolerant left. Boo hoo. This is like the standard fucking bullshit. The like you're a lefty, so you must be super nice. Try to like accuse me of like internal inconsistencies because they only have a general understanding of like a right-wing caricature of an SJW. I actually kind of feel like almost bad for that guy because he is so fucking brain dead. If only he had talked to Karlyn Borysanko a little longer, you know? Maybe she would have been able to give him some good advice. Oh, why would the spirits choose this? I'm sorry, Karlyn Borysanko. Sorry. Sorry that you had to send your little minion in to get obliterated instead of you. Had you actually shown up, I would have been even meaner. But oh well, it is what it is. When is Hunter getting that ADHD diagnosis so you can say the R word without getting canceled? You know what? I'm already diagnosed with not only ADHD, but also depression and OCD. So technically speaking, I have the R word pass. I'm trying not to use that, though, because I recognize it's a slur and it's bad, and I shouldn't be talking that way on stream. But okay, well, oh well, the end.